Hi everybody, welcome to the Garage and the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Hope you're well. Hope you're going to enjoy the day. Where do we start? Oh, well, I heard just a little while ago that Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, has threatened if he can't get his housing legislation through the Senate, he's going to, well, he didn't say he was going to call a double dissolution, he threatened to call a double dissolution. Well, if I was a Liberal, I would say bring it on. Wow, I think that sounds like an opportunity, not a threat. Anyway, be that as it may, we will see. One thing I wanted to do before we got started, Pete, are you able to slip out from behind the camera and bring me that box? I talked to you yesterday about this amazing, thanks Pete, amazing memorial service in Sydney for the late Reg Grundy and Joy Chambers Grundy, artist and author. And everyone who went to this, 200, we're talking 200 people at the Library of New South Wales, which was really not a, you can understand, not a library, it was a theaterette. And everyone got one of these. I don't know, am I holding it up high enough?
That's it.
Yep. It's very heavy. It is a box, and they put in it, well, there was the order of service for the memorial. Golly, Reg Grundy, what do you call those things you put? I don't usually wear them. Cufflinks, yeah. In a beautiful gold embossed case. Reg Grundy cufflinks, one of Joy Chambers' beautiful novels, historically correct, I believe, in every way. And of course this, which I haven't seen before, but I will value it and read it. This is the Reg Grundy story, which he eventually took time to sit down and write. And I will enjoy reading that, believe me, because it's a history, really, of Australian television. The man who was indeed what Walt Disney was to American entertainment and television. And there's a scarf, and there's a Reg Grundy pen. In other words, I suppose you could say, a box of memories about the family and the man. Well, I don't know what all of that must have cost, but as I said to you yesterday, it was a great privilege to be invited and to be involved. Thank you. Thank you. Let me talk to you about this weapons conference in Melbourne, a big international expo about military hardware. Really? What was available, the latest and the greatest? All that sort of thing. Now, I can understand it annoying some people. People have a right to be annoyed and to demonstrate, but peacefully. Now, was this a peaceful demonstration? No. More warlike than the things they opposed in the exhibition centre. The demonstration was violent, it was ugly, it was repulsive. This country has got no hope if these people can't be brought under control. They are enormously destructive. We have to be able to defend ourselves, and seeing what armament is available on the market is part of that. We have to defend our country and our borders if we want to keep it. There are those, of course, among us who do not want us to keep it. And we also have to protect ourselves, defend ourselves from this rabble, this renter crowd. It's, I didn't get a close enough look, but Extinction Rebellion, climate change, Palestinians, gays for Gaza, any cause, just disrupt and be violent. But they're doing it for peace, ladies and gentlemen. Peace. Lefties, communists, idiots who want to injure the police, who are there doing their job, throw stones, and, oh yes, they throw marbles under the feet of the horses so that they will fall. Now, a rumour that was put to air by 3AW was that various Islamic organisations were paying demonstrators $300 cash each to be there, and they would pay their bail if they were arrested. Now, this story is not verified and it's not confirmed, but it certainly was reported. And this young woman who stuck her hand in a container of quick-drying cement, which she had in the boot of her car at the demonstration, it was on Friday, they had to chip her out. And you know, they gave her a pair of glasses to protect her eyes, and they put a cover on her, and then they worked at chipping her hand out. Listen, just leave her there. She obviously wanted to be there. Come back in a couple of days and see how she's going. That's what I'd do. Whooping cough apparently is sweeping the nation. Not so bad here in Adelaide, but I believe on the eastern seaboard it is a problem. 11 times the number of cases compared to this time last year. And whooping cough is a terrible disease. I remember my little sister had it when she was only a baby. She was 8 or 9 weeks old when she got it, and you know, it was just a terrible thing to watch, let alone to have. Now, this scam legislation, which you probably have heard about or read about, it is designed to hit the banks, the telcos, and social media. Now, all of these platforms are going to be held responsible for the carriage or distribution of any scam that has resulted in fraud, loss of money. Now, penalties, they say, up to, not necessarily what they'll apply, but up to $50 million will be applied. The victims will also be able to seek their own resolution and compensation as well, if they like. Now, I like this. I think it sounds good. It sounds like what we need. What do you think? You tell me, particularly if you've been caught up in a scam, you tell me on Friday round the dining room table. It's time with these things. They're getting cleverer and cleverer, harder and harder to recognise from something genuine. It's very easy to get pulled into, trapped into one of those things. But particularly if you have been, call me on Friday. jeremycordeaux.com, 9 o'clock till 12, 3 hours live streaming. Now, I'm not saying here that, I've been meaning to talk to you about this for a while. I'm not saying that these hospital and charity lotteries are a scam. But there are so many of them in every city and state in Australia, possibly the world. I don't know where they all came from. Enormous growth in, what can I call it? Well, I suppose fundraising. Fundraising. We can't overlook the fact that charity is a very big business. And yes, I did say business. It's worth over $200 billion a year. If you don't believe me, Google it, look it up. $200 billion a year. It employs tens of thousands of people. But how much of that $200 billion that's raised gets to the people or the cause for which it was collected? I don't know. I don't know because successive governments refuse to legislate one simple law. Every charity must declare how much of every dollar goes to the cause. They have to reveal what after salaries, overheads, administration, I guess they'd call it. What is the amount given to the cause for which the money was collected? That is simple, isn't it? No one will do it. I wonder why. I call it transparency. It would have to help the charities. It would have to help the good ones. You know, we give 70% of the money that we raise to the cause. I guess the people who would be against it would be the people who would give 2%. until the time comes that we have that sort of legislation, we have the right to be suspicious, particularly as the law at the moment says that charities do not actually have to give 1 single cent to the cause, which in itself is pretty amazing, and in the court of public opinion, not widely known, and I don't think would be tolerated. Fair Work Australia on Friday, this last Friday gone by, began a case. The Clerks Union is requesting the right to work from home. Now, this union only has about 90,000 members Australia-wide, and I don't know how many of those 90,000 members just pay the dues and don't want a bar of the union, but they have to join the union in a country where compulsory unionism doesn't exist. But I can see once this gets up, if they win the case, how it will be taken up everywhere. But as I read it, if the Clerks Union wins, they will have the right to request. But that doesn't mean that the request will be granted. And I, for one, if I was in business today, I would be demanding that my staff, for the reasons of the culture of the business and professionalism, come to work. Don't know what you think. You might like to argue with me on Friday morning. More care, which sounds wonderful, more care and more time in one's own home for the 1.4 million aged Australians who are looking down the barrel of all of this. Now, as I look at it, this is a potential NDIS on steroids. It's the same deal. It has all the ingredients. The NDIS, of course, as I've said to you many times, had, and still does have, the potential to send the country broke. And there are 600,000 recipients of that. The aged care package is for 1.4 million people. More evidence that this government really does not know what it is doing. Means well, but as I often say to you, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now let's come to this. Misinformation and disinformation. This is the legislation that's before the House at the moment. This legislation is being pushed through to control what is said on social media. This would include Meta, Facebook. We're on Facebook. It would include the program I do, live streaming on a Friday morning. It would include all platforms. Anything that is said that is hurtful or untrue will be caught up in this. The publishers of that which is said that's hurtful or untrue could be fined a percentage of their global advertising turnover, which would be a huge amount of money. It could be a crippling fine. Hurtful and untrue. That's pretty vague. That's pretty broad. I said when I first heard about this, I said that I'd reserve my opinion till I found out just who would be sitting in judgment on what was misinformation or disinformation, because that will tell the story and tell us just who it is they want to shut up. Very interesting. Now, I imagine it's going to be ACMA sitting in judgment, or it should be ACMA. But I'd like to know what the instructions are, the writing instructions that will be given by the government. Now, I often say stuff that this government wouldn't like. I'd say stuff that any government wouldn't like. That is my job, but it's also my freedom of speech. I'm entitled to my opinion. And so are you here in the court of public opinion. I might say this government is the worst I have seen. Hurtful? Yes, to them. Untrue? I don't think so, but they would say so. So where does that leave us? I can't see how this could possibly work, this legislation. This sort of crap is exactly why I say it's a bad government. Concentrating on the wrong things. They should be focused on cost of living, not climate change. Bringing down the cost of electricity, not welcome the country, not dividing the nation. No three flags. See, that's my opinion. That's my opinion, which I'm entitled to. Of course, this would be a great opportunity, come to think of it, while they're passing this sort of legislation, to introduce and pass a law insisting on truth in political advertising. But they, at the moment, can say what they like and promise what they like. Double standards completely. It's like what happens to a politician when he retires and takes his pension and goes and gets a cushy job the next day. We, outside the Canberra bubble, we can't do that. We can't do that. I think we insist, or it's time we insisted, upon being treated equally to these elites. How much time have I got, Pete?
Oh yeah, got a couple of minutes.
Okay. The government snuck through an interesting piece of legislation on Monday. ASIC, the overworked ASIC, they do a lot of work, ASIC. They're now going to be responsible for checking every company's climate change declaration, which is also new. Every company is going to have to declare what their emissions are and what their policy is. Number one, this is more red tape. Number two, we will be the only country in the world to have such a requirement. It all means that Australia is becoming a less and less attractive place to do business and to employ. Our emissions are minuscule. What is the problem we are trying to fix? What we do is of no global importance whatsoever. And speaking of legislation, the government has banned insurance companies from using genetic profiling, the information that basically determines the future health of a person, or certainly could. Now, our genes are not our fault. It's the luck of the draw, as I understand it. But let's look at it. Insurance companies are in the risk business. They are gambling that something bad won't happen. We, when we take out the policy, we are gambling that something bad will happen. Can't both be right. Insurance companies are free to take the bet. But aren't they also entitled to check the odds? I think so. Not everybody will be happy. Insurance companies, or in this case, assurance companies, because insurance is something that may happen, and when you take out a life policy, you're talking about your life, and we're all assured of dying. Life assurance companies are looking for a way to reduce their risk. Perfectly natural. Why not? If someone wants life assurance, a genetic profile that showed the insurance company their level of risk was low, that would be good for everyone. It's information that could determine the price we pay for the cover. Little risk, lower premium. Higher risk, higher premium. Perfectly reasonable. Why should the insurance or assurance company fly blind if there is information there available that makes everything clearer, transparent, and I would argue cheaper? Much better. Have I got some time for a few dates?
Yes.
Okay. Can I find my glasses? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is September the 18th, ladies and gentlemen. September the 18th. Monokufu Andu markets markets the first noodles in a cup. Instant noodles. I like instant noodles. Pete? Instant noodles?
I'm not a fan. No.
Oh, I like them. Particularly if you do them the way they say to on the pack. And then you put some hot olive oil in the pan. You get that up really hot. Then you put them in and you end up with crispy noodles. Oh, lovely. Anyway. So it's not earth-shattering, I agree with you. Anyway, that's 1971 instant noodles were invented. William Joyce, who became known as Lord Haw Haw, first Nazi propaganda broadcast on this day in 1939. Charles Lewis Tiffany and John B. Young co-founded a stationery and fancy goods emporium in New York City, later to be renamed in 1853 as Tiffany and Company. Well, I suppose it still is a fancy goods emporium, but the goods are pretty expensive as well as being pretty fancy. That was 1837. 19 German aircraft shot down over England on this day in 1940. The lovely Debbie Reynolds, who was a frequent guest on my radio program. 1955, she was 23, weds American singer Eddie Fisher. He was 27. They divorce in 1959 because Debbie found out that he was having an affair with Elizabeth Taylor, whom he later married, briefly. Careful of what you wish for. And Caroline says here, 1945, 18th of September, a special Adelaide radio personality was born. Thank you. Well, yes, you can wish me a happy birthday, Pete.
Happy birthday, Jim.
By the way, something funny about that. The day upon which most people are born, most of the population is born on one day of the year. Do you know what it is? No? The 17th of September, yesterday, most popular day for babies being born. Don't ask me why, apart from the fact it's probably nine months after Christmas. Oh, golly. Oh, Greta Garbo's birthday as well. She's the lady famous for saying, "I want to be alone." She died in 1990, but born in 1905. 1964, big day for television, Pete. 1964 TV sitcom series The Addams Family, starring John Austin, Karen Jones and Jackie Coogan, child actor Jackie Coogan, grown up in this, of course. And Ted Cassidy premieres on ABC, runs for 2 seasons. Oh, I thought longer. 1964, 1965 on the same day, Mel Brooks and Buck Henry's spy spoof sitcom Get Smart, which I just love. That was on NBC and came to, I think, Channel 7 here, from memory. 1965, on exactly the same day, the TV sitcom I Dream of Jeannie, starring Barbara Eden as a 2,000-year-old genie and Larry Hagman as an astronaut who became her master. Imagine taking that into the... I got this great idea for a show. We got this rather attractive, scantily dressed 2,000-year-old genie, and we got an astronaut, and we had to put them together, and she's got... No? You don't get it? Well, funnily enough, they did. Yep. Jeeves and Bertie Wooster make their first appearance in P.G. Wodehouse short story, Extricating Young Gussie, published in the Saturday Evening Post in the United States. One of Caroline's favourite authors. That was 1915. Scotland votes to say a member of the United Kingdom in an independence referendum in 2014. The Central... Oh, happy birthday to the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, the CIA, officially comes into existence after being established by President Truman in July, but officially born on this day in 1947. And Derek Nimmo... Pete, can you get a shot of Derek Nimmo? He's over on the wall. Derek Nimmo, British comedy actor, Oh, All Gas and Gators, born in Liverpool, England, frequent visitor to Australia, lived in Australia for a while. He died, sadly, in 1999, but he was born this day in 1930. A very charming guest to have, very stylish, very interesting man. The British East India Company, forced by conquerors of Java to get out of the place, they leave, end up in Singapore, where they set up Stamford Raffles was appointed the governor, the lieutenant governor, and went on to own a string of hotels. Good hotels too. Ever been to a Raffles?
Yes.
Amazing, aren't they? Really, really wonderful, classy. 1811 that was. I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll look forward to your company on Friday, hopefully. Tell your friends if you enjoy the Court of Public Opinion, either here in the garage or around the dining room table. JeremyCordeaux.com if you would like to tune in at 9 o'clock. Peter Clayton and I will be back next Tuesday and Wednesday, Facebook posting and podcasting. Believe in yourself. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, and goodbye for now.